Welcome to this course about theory and liberalism. My name is Brian Russell Graham and I'm a fellow at the Institute for Liberal Values. This free online course kicks off a series being run by the ILV. Starting in 2024, we'll be running a series of live online courses, which we're calling the Liberal Bookshelf courses. You'll be able to find more information about those courses on the ILV website. This first offering was suggested by Cynical Theories by Pluckrose and Lindsay. As such, it will feel rather like a defense of classical liberalism and a critique of theory. The course emerged out of an online course I taught, where participants read chapters from Cynical Theories, as well as chapters from Jonathan Rauch's most recent book, Constitution of Knowledge. In this course, we'll go through what I take to be the key chapters of this publication. Focus will be on giving you a chance to absorb exactly what Pluckrose and Lindsay say in their book, but at the same time, we'll try to work with a critical perspective. Even if I myself would sign up to their overarching argument, I think that it is possible for us to respond as critical readers and find ways in which the argumentation could be even more persuasive. In addition to this first short class, this first short video, the course comprises three main classes, each of which is around 20 minutes long. I might just direct your attention to the reading that you need to do for each one of these classes. Perhaps you had a chance to read the introduction to Cynical Theories before watching this short video. I would certainly urge you to read chapters 1 and 2 of Cynical Theories before watching the next video, Postmodernism and Postmodernism's Applied Turn, chapters 1 and 2 of the book. For the third class, I'm asking you to read Social Justice, Scholarship and Thought, which is chapter 8 of Cynical Theories. And last but not least, my suggestion is that you read An Alternative to the Ideology of Social Justice, chapter 10 of Cynical Theories, for that final class. Yes. Much of Cynical Theories is dedicated, of course, to theory uppercase, or the sequence of theories beginning in the 1960s, which became a kind of orthodoxy in university humanities and social sciences departments. Postmodernism is a kind of common thread running through the discussion of these theories. But of special interest to us is going to be critical social justice, the subject of chapter 8, which is presented as a sort of culmination of this sequence of theories. Critical social justice is going to be presented to us as the sort of nemesis of classical liberalism, and chapter 10 represents a robust defense of classical liberalism. If I might share with you one or two observations about the introduction to the book, I think that it's a very clear opposition between social justice, uppercase, and liberalism, which is most striking in this introduction. The main thesis of this volume is going to be that liberalism is capable of advancing the cause of social justice far more effectively than social justice uppercase. This is a book which is going to invite readers to reject social justice with capital letters and embrace liberalism with a small l. We might profitably consider how the two authors define liberalism in the introduction. Let's take a look at exactly what they say. Authors make the following observation. The main tenets of liberalism are political democracy, limitations on the powers of government, the development of universal human rights, legal equality for all adult citizens, freedom of expression, respect for the value of viewpoint diversity and honest debate, respect for evidence and reason, the separation of church and state, and freedom of religion. Liberalism is thus best thought of as a shared common ground, providing a framework for conflict resolution and one within which people with a variety of views on political, economic, and social questions can rationally debate the options for public policy, which all sounds very appealing. But as you can see, I thought I might set the author's thumbnail definition of liberalism alongside that of Francis Fukuyama's. The definition you can see to the right is from his latest book, Liberalism and Its Discontents, and I find the contrast between these two definitions rather suggestive. Here's what Fukuyama says. Liberal societies confer rights on individuals, the most fundamental of which is the right to autonomy, that is, the ability to make choices with regard to speech, association, belief, and ultimately political life. Included within this sphere of autonomy is the right to own property and to undertake economic transactions. Over time, autonomy would also come to include the right to a share of political power through the right to vote. The obvious question to ask is, whose definition is better? We can return to these issues at a later time, but we might rehearse one or two questions about Pluckrose and Lindsay's definition straight away. Is political democracy a tenet of liberalism, or is it merely tied to it? When we look more deeply into Fukuyama, we discover that Fukuyama would say that democracy is tied to liberalism, but not strictly a part of it. Another question, isn't it better to emphasize the broader freedom of belief rather than merely freedom of religion? Isn't the separation of church and state a reformation rather than a liberal achievement? Shouldn't economic liberalism also be factored in when defining liberalism generally? Those questions relate primarily to Pluckrose and Lindsay, but one question relating to Fukuyama also suggests itself. Shouldn't Fukuyama reference the scientific method in his definition? Or is it wise to exclude method from the definition of liberalism? As I approach this book again, one question which comes to mind is this. The author's notion that social justice, uppercase, aims to replace liberalism, root and branch, rests on the assumption that social justice covers the ground covered by liberalism. But does it? Is liberalism not a larger philosophy covering a wider range of issues? Of course, our answer to this question will depend on what we considered a moment ago, the precise definition of liberalism. But let's keep that question in mind as we proceed through the chapters and return to it at the end of the course. Once again, is liberalism not a larger philosophy covering a wider range of issues? Each week I'm going to provide you with questions about the following week's readings, and each week we'll spend part of our time rehearsing some answers to those questions. If you can, you might want to set up a study group with some friends, discussing possible answers to the questions before watching the next video lecture. Finish this introductory talk just by running through the questions for next week. Number one, which aspects of the critique did you find most striking? Which explanations are you especially appreciative of? That first question engages with the fact that at times the authors are clearly engaging in robust critique, whereas at other times they really just want to be guides to this wonderful world of theory. Number two, how useful are the references to liberalism in chapter 2 as well as chapter 1? Of course, it's a later chapter, chapter 10, where liberalism becomes the focus, but we have these references to liberalism where theory is the focus as well. Number three, what else would you have liked to have heard more about in these opening chapters? And number four, do you have any criticisms of the lines of argumentation in this chapter? Would you have preferred a different kind of presentation or argumentation? Can you see weaknesses in the argumentation here? These are the questions I'd like us to discuss in connection with next week's reading. That brings this first video lecture to an end. I'm very much looking forward to talking again next time. And in the meantime, enjoy the reading of those first important chapters of the book. Bye.